Hi everyone, welcome to my video. So today we're building in Windenburg and we're building a Tudor style mansion. This actually wasn't supposed to be a mansion, it was just supposed to be a Tudor style house. That was what I had originally set out to build. But I ended up finding this really lovely house on Pinterest when I was looking for Tudor style houses for inspiration. And I just really liked the look of it. I liked the layout, I liked the roofing, and I decided that was the house that I wanted to build. And I don't think I don't think I'd realized quite how big this build was. But actually I've really enjoyed making this, and I just think it's come out really nice at the end. It was quite tricky to fill all the different rooms that you end up having inside, but I really like how the external looks. I really liked the roofing. I just thought it looked really nice. And if you are looking for a mansion for your Sims, maybe for some rich Sims, then I think this would be a really nice place for them to live. So we're just sort of working on the external at the moment. And what I also really enjoyed about this style of build is that this isn't something I would normally build. I normally build a lot of family homes, um, a lot of more like suburban type builds. I've never really built anything in this style before. So what it meant was I found loads of different wallpapers, floor tiles, windows, doors, all of which I would never normally use. And actually it just took me out of my comfort zone. It meant that I just got to explore the build and buy catalogue a little bit more, which I really enjoyed. So you're going to see me place this front door, which I think is from Cottage Living. I have never used that door before ever in my life. And actually it's such a sweet little front door, and I thought it fit in quite well with this build. It looked very similar to the front door on the Pinterest image that I'd found. And I think that's what I'm trying to do with the builds I make for this YouTube channel is I'm sort of trying to push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. Now maybe that's a bad idea because maybe they're going to look awful, but I just like the idea of going more out of my comfort zone, exploring more of the different worlds that The Sims has, more of the items that it has to offer. Um, and actually, I'm having like a lot of fun with it. This build was a lot of fun. It took a long time to build because it's a mansion, but I really enjoyed building it. I really like how it came out, so hopefully you will do too. So we're just working on the front garden here at the moment. As I've said before, I'm not the best at landscaping. I'm still sort of playing around with that, learning what looks good, what doesn't. I think I recently watched a YouTube video. I can't remember who it was, but I'll have a look and I'll link it down below. But in this video, they were basically saying that eventually you'll come up with your own style of landscaping and you'll have some certain plants that you use a lot. I feel like I already kind of have that. I use quite a lot from the Romantic Garden pack. Um, because I really like those flowers and that style. But I guess I'm just still trying to play around a little bit, learn a bit more about my style of landscaping, and hopefully eventually it will start to look a bit better. But if you have any tips on landscaping, please do let me know because I'm still, as I said, I really do want to learn and improve on that. So I'd gratefully take any advice. So we're just doing some more terrain paint here. I just wanted it to look a bit more like it sort of led into the street and there was like a path there. I ended up doing more terrain paint than what you can currently see now. I was going to add in more plants, but I didn't want it to look too overwhelmed by plants, and so I ended up adding a bit more terrain paint in and making a bigger path. Again, just adding in some more plants here, just trying to make it look like this bit's a little bit overgrown as it's sort of towards the side. Maybe they don't go over that side very often. And then the path sort of leads to the back garden back there. So you can see this sort of coming together now, the external of this house, and I'm really pleased with how this came out. We're just sort of building a little porch in the back garden now. Originally I wanted to make this a bit bigger and have like an outdoor seating area, but I ended up putting that into the garden. Um, so this is sort of just a little porch that then leads down into the garden. And then here I'm building a sort of like a planter I guess is the best way of describing it. When I was looking for my inspiration images on Pinterest, I actually saw the actor Kelsey Grammer's house, and in his garden, he has a very Tudor style house, and he had a similar planter thing to this. I really don't know what it's called, but essentially it was circular like this. It had a tree coming out of it, and then lots of plants all around it. So that was kind of what I was trying to recreate here. And actually, I'm really pleased with how it came out. It's not perfect, but I just really like the way that it looks. It's not something I've built before, so it was quite nice to sort of play around with this and then put some seating around it so your Sims can come and sit and enjoy the plants and garden area. I feel like I use those bushes a lot, but I don't feel like we have that many long bushes in The Sims, so it's hard to branch out from that. You know, you've got the ones in Island Living, but they're quite large, and I don't know that they fit with every type of world. Um, Whereas those other ones, they kind of fit with everything, so I end up using them a lot. So this is the outdoor seating area that I mentioned before. I just thought if your Sims were like entertaining, they could all sit outside. I put a is it pergola? Is that what it's called? A roof, essentially, over your here we go, over the seats so they could sit out there even if it was raining. I just thought this was like a nice little area. They do have a dining table inside, but it's a bit smaller than this. So if they were entertaining, they'd probably sit outside. And then just adding some more terrain paint. I mean, I just always get surprised at how much terrain paint makes your build. I think that as soon as you add in some terrain paint, everything just sort of looks more put together. And I really enjoy that. I think it just looks so much nicer. Just even adding that little patio area in the back has made the garden look so much nicer than it did before. I end up towards the end of this build putting a few more things out there. So I put some planters and I think just some more plants and stuff outside just to make it look a bit more put together. I'm also just adding some more ivy around the windows here. I'm not quite sure, so I ended up using a mixture of Discover University ivy and then cottage living ivy. I'm not quite sure they go together, but we don't have any other horizontal ivy, so it kind of had to do. So I'm really sorry if you're looking at that like, oh, that looks awful. I really tried. I did try and think about something else. So moving into onto the inside of the house now, I really wanted like a nice staircase when you first walk in. So that's what I'm sort of working on now. And I thought it was just a nice way of when you first walk in, and then there's got like this nice staircase. I ended up putting like a little sofa area next to the staircase. I'm making the hallway extend into two levels. So as you can see now, you then walk in, and you can see up to the upstairs. I just thought that made the entrance look a bit more grand, and I really liked that look. I use that technique quite a lot, where I extend a room over two floors. So we're just sort of working on the floor plan here. Some of this I think does change later, but not too much. As I said, I didn't quite realize how big it was until I did the floor plan, and then realized I had a lot of rooms to fill, and then some quite big rooms to fill. So I'm not quite sure that I'd quite realized that, but I end up really liking the end result, so it all worked out fine. I was originally having like stone walls, stone flooring, but it ended up feeling just quite cold. It didn't feel very warm or welcoming when you first walked into the house, so I ended up changing this to more of a wooden vibe, um, just some like paneling and wallpaper. And then I've still tried to keep it quite grand with like a nice uh chandelier and then some like nice statues and stuff when you first walk in. So it still has that grand feel, but just a bit more warmer, a bit more inviting and more welcoming than I think it had before. So we're just sort of decorating the just adding a bit of clutter to the hallway just to make it look a bit more lived in, a bit more homely. Um, I ended up spending quite a lot of time looking through all the different statues. I don't really normally put statues into my houses. So I wasn't quite sure what to put in here, but I really enjoyed getting to sort of play around with them, and I ended up just putting some I think is it Princess Cordelia? Cornelia? Cordelia, I think. Um, her sort of bust statue into the hallway. I put this little bookcase in just so that if they wanted to sit on that sofa and have a little read, they could do so. Like just to again make it feel a bit more lived in, a little bit more homely. At this point, I realised that the stairs really didn't go with the rest of the hallway, so I ended up changing this to some white stairs, which I thought just looked a little bit nicer than like the brown wooden stairs. So that's just changed, and now I'm looking at the what I called the I guess the drawing room. It's like almost like a living room, but there's no TV. It's not very like family orientated. So it ended up just becoming like a drawing room. If you had some people over, you would probably host them here if you were going to just have a chat. I made it very like bookish, a bit of like a library, um, and just sort of again kept that grand feel, just to make it look a bit more formal, if you like. And again, I'm sort of like looking at different sofas that I wouldn't normally use, just trying to play around with different seats I could use here, just to again keep that sort of grand, formal hosting vibe. So at this point, I was trying to put like some different kinds of rugs. And at first, I really liked the idea of having like a really colourful rug, but it just didn't look right. So I ended up using these sort of bluey brown grey rugs and then layering them up just to make it look a little bit bigger. I really wanted that to have like a really big colourful rug, but yeah, it just didn't look right. There's a couple of times in this build where I end up using rugs and then I'm just not sure about them, and so I end up going with something a bit more safe. And maybe I should have gone with it. I keep saying like going out of my comfort zone. So also when I got this pack, it was well, sorry, when I built this house. So also when I built this house, I had literally just got horse ranch the day before. So there's a couple of times in this build where you can kind of see that I like hover over a couple of things because they're new from the horse ranch, and so I'm like, oh, what's that? And oh, what's that? And I'd only just got the access to, like the base game update to be able to do the ceiling painting. I haven't done it in every room, mainly because some rooms it just seemed right to have a white ceiling, but then in other rooms to have like a brown ceiling made a huge difference. Like in that drawing room, it made such a difference to have like a brown ceiling. It just looks so much nicer in there. So I did use ceiling paint throughout some of this, but not through all of it. Partly because I kept forgetting I had it, but I did use it throughout some of the builds. So we've moved on to the kitchen now. I ended up using quite a lot of cottage living stuff in here just because it felt like those were the right kind of vibes. To me, this is quite like a British mansion, so cottage living has those sorts of vibes because Henley on Bagley is supposed to be like a British world. Um, so yeah, I thought this looked quite nice and went with the theming. I then used these new wine racks or sorry, nectar racks from Horse Ranch, which I was really excited about. So I think it would take you a long time to fill up all of those slots, but it was really nice to be able to put things like that in. I just think all that sort of stuff makes such a difference to the feel of the pack. I'm really excited about the addition of nectar to the game. Again, struggling with my rugs. Just couldn't figure out what to use here, but I've ended up going with like a more of a brown rug, picking up some paintings just to add some like nice decorations to the room. And at this point, I think we're about to go down to the basement because putting down those nectar racks gave me a wonderful idea to have a wine cellar in my mansion because this house obviously needed another room. Didn't have enough rooms, so why not just give it another one? But I knew that if you builded a cellar in your basement, and kept your nectar down there, it either makes the nectar age quicker or it makes it age better. I'm not quite sure which one it is, but I just thought this would be a really fun addition to a mansion build. It's not like they couldn't afford to have a nectar cellar because they live in a mansion. And I just really enjoyed getting to play around with this. It's not something I've been able to build before, so yeah, I just thought it was really fun. I played around with it quite a few times. I kept putting things in and then being like, nope, I don't like that at all. And then so you can see I can keep moving things around. But I really enjoyed how this looked. I took out some of the lights and made the lighting a bit darker down there, just so it gave it that sort of celery feel. Um, yeah, I was really pleased with how that turned out. So hopefully your Sims will age some great nectar down there. It's really hard to remember to keep calling it nectar and not wine. So again, I always like to try and build a little laundry room if I can, especially if it's in a mansion because, there's no reason not to have one. Um, so that's what I'm adding in here. I just kind of thought the wine cellar would be a bit of like a secret room that your guests wouldn't know about and they wouldn't go into the laundry room. So it made sense to have it sort of down the corridor, tucked away, and then you'd head downstairs into your little wine cellar that no one really knew about. So again, I'm adding more rooms because that's exactly what this build needed. Um, so at this point, I started to try and think about adding in a bath, like a downstairs bathroom. I had a few different ideas that I sort of played around with. I ended up moving this around a lot. This is quite like a fancy bathroom with its like jacuzzi bath. Yeah, jacuzzi bath. Again, that's not something I would normally use or would normally put into my build, but I just liked the idea of it. If they have a mansion, they can afford a jacuzzi bath, let's be honest. If they've got a wine cellar, they can afford a jacuzzi bath. So I thought I would add that in just to make it a little bit different to the bathrooms that I would normally build. So just adding a little bit more clutter to the room just to make it look a bit more homely. Um, and then adding some wallpaper and floor tiles. And then next I decided to start building a study. So I was trying to figure out which room was the best for it. I ended up making quite like an old-fashioned formal study. And the reason for that was because I thought one of the adult Sims could use it as their main working area. So maybe they're a lawyer or a businessman or woman or anything like that, where they would need a more formal office because they held meetings at home. So that was kind of the vibe I was going for here. In my head, when I was building this house, the two adult Sims was a male and a female, and perhaps the man was as I say, like a lawyer or a businessman, and then the woman was a entertainer. So later on, you'll see I put in some musical instruments, a microphone, a piano, and I just sort of thought she would perhaps be more of an entertainer, and she would host little gatherings, and it would be, um, she'd be like the life and soul of the house. So that's kind of the vibe I was going for with this office. Is more of like an old-fashioned um type study. And with that painting that I just put up, it was really funny because my actual real boss in real life has a painting just like that in his home study. And so I saw it and was like, well, that painting has to go in because clearly that's something that people put in their studies. So I really enjoyed that. That was something that made me chuckle when I put that in. And then in this room, I ended up putting in more a sort of like a games room. So it's funny because in my video about in my video on like a modern family home in Oasis Springs, I remember saying that I like to only put in rooms that made sense. I like to keep my builds quite natural. And so in a normal house, you wouldn't have a music room and you wouldn't have a games room and all of these other things. And in this house, that all just completely went out the window because I had so many rooms to fill. I kind of had to go down that route. So this one has, a study and a playroom and a games room and all these different types of rooms. But I feel like if you had a mansion, you would have the room for it and therefore you would put it in. Whereas in a normal family home, you wouldn't. So if you watch that video and now you're watching me put in lots of different types of rooms and you're thinking, but you said, then that's why. I have a reason for it. So this is more of like a family room is my aim. So you'll see I'm putting in the piano and the microphone, and then I put in a TV and some board games and a games console because I just thought this could be more of a room where the family comes to hang out rather than a drawing room where they would host guests. I really struggled with what wallpaper to put in here. I kind of wanted to go down a pink route, so you can see I'm putting down this pink rug, and I just couldn't decide if that pink rug went with the room. But I ended up going with it because I just thought it added some colour, otherwise the room is quite bland. Um, so I ended up keeping it. Let me know what you think. You can, if you downloaded this from the gallery, you could always take that out. But I ended up quite liking it. And then I just sort of thought that with this room, it could just have some activities in there. So if you have the family in there, someone could be watching TV, someone could be playing the piano, someone could be painting, and you could sort of have different types of things going on in there. So moving up the stairs, this is actually the ensuite for the master bedroom. So I decided to make like this shower area. So I put in I will be putting in windows to make it look like a proper shower with like glass either side, and then sort of putting in like his and hers sinks with mirrors, a nice bath on a platform. I just wanted it to look a bit fancier than like a normal bathroom would do. So I'm just sort of tiling it. Just again, I just wanted it to look a little bit more um stylish, a little bit more yeah, than a normal bathroom would look like. So I'm just finishing it off here. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think it looks really nice. And then in this room, I decided to make this a dressing room. So this is in between the bathroom and the bedroom. And I just thought this all ends up becoming quite pink and quite feminine. But I just kind of thought the man has his like masculine study, so the woman gets to have her nice pink dressing room, feminine dressing room, and bedroom. And that's just how it goes in this household. So that's kind of the vibe that I was going for. I used this. I used the hanging shelves from Dream Home Decorator, which I hadn't actually used before, and then put in some storage boxes at the top just to make those look a bit more like they're storing more clothes up there. And I just really liked the look of this. I liked her little makeup table. She can sort of get ready. Um, and then I ended up making this bedroom a little bit smaller because I just realised you just didn't need a massive bedroom if you've got a dressing room and a bathroom. So I ended up just making this a little bit smaller, moving everything in, and then I used that extra space to create a little nursery so they could have more children. I've also got two bedrooms for one for a toddler and one for a teenager. So their master bedroom isn't huge, but I just kind of think when you've got a dressing room, there isn't very much that you need in your bedroom really, because you just need a bed. Yeah, that's kind of it really. I just couldn't think of anything else that needed to go in there, so I just sort of made it a little bit smaller and yeah, a bit more compact. And then I put like a nice door on it to still make it feel quite formal, quite um grand in the bedroom. So moving on, this ends up becoming, as I said, the nursery. So I just used quite basic base game wallpapers, and then I just put in a bassinet and some changing tables. Um, again, I don't feel like you need a huge amount, and then when the kid grows up, you could make this into like a small bedroom. You could also maybe make the other bedrooms a little bit smaller, the other two children's bedrooms smaller to make this room a bit bigger. Um, but I didn't really feel like it needed that much stuff in there really. Just needed a few basic things for a baby. And then this becomes the toddler's bedroom. So I had quite a lot of fun building this. Um, I think I said this last time as well. I just find that when you have a theme for a house, as soon as you move to like the kids' rooms, you just kind of lose that theme because all the kids' stuff is quite similar. It's all quite colourful, it's all quite in your face. Like it's quite hard to have themed kids' bedrooms. That's what I find anyway. Um, so this ends up being quite like a pink room, quite a toy themed heavy room. I really love that tent. I think that's also from Dream Home Decorator. I really love that tent. I don't know why I love it so much. I really do. That's actually one of the main reasons I bought that pack was because kept seeing people on YouTube playing with that tent, and I just wanted it so bad. It was so cute. So then this becomes a teenager's bedroom almost. Well, not almost. It is a a teenager's bedroom. And again, like I sort of kept it fairly simple. Ends up having like a desk in there, a dresser, and a bed, and that was kind of it. So you could add some more things into there if you wanted to. I just wanted there to be a space for them to do their homework and also a space for them to have like a bit of personality injected into there. I feel like if you had a teenager, they would want to put in some of their own style and that kind of thing. So that was what I tried to do here was just inject a bit of personality into the room. So I'm pretty sure in my head these kids were both girls because I've gone for quite girly rooms. So yes, you could change the colours if you wanted to, but that's kind of where I was going with this. And this becomes the guest bedroom. So again, you could turn this into a bedroom for another sim if you wanted to, if you had like a bigger family. But I just kind of wanted there to be a guest bedroom for them to host, or maybe it's their butler's bedroom, if you have that pack. And I really liked this. It ends up being quite simple, quite like plain and basic, but I feel like guest rooms quite often are. You don't really put a huge amount of personality into guest rooms. So I just kind of put the basic things you need, and then I gave them an ensuite so they didn't have to share with the rest of the family if they were staying over. I mean, I know that in the game they'll just use whatever, but you know, if it was real life, they could have their own bathroom. I am really bad at remembering to put curtains into my builds. Um, I don't know why. I just always forget about them until it's too late, and then I'm like, oh, I should have put some more curtains in. So the fact that I did put some curtains into this one makes me quite proud. Again, I sort of did like some bigger sinks, like his and hers sinks, made it look a bit nicer. And then yeah, that's pretty much most of the top floor done. So I'm now adding like a little reading nook in. Again, when I was looking at my Pinterest images, I saw this idea of in like a Tudor house where they had like this little reading nook when you came up the stairs. So I decided to add that in just to give them somewhere to sit and hang out and have like sort of like a cozy little reading nook. I really liked this idea, and then putting like the clutter in made it feel a bit more lived in. I really liked it. I laid up the rugs. I really liked this. I thought it looked really nice, and I would personally love sitting there to have read a little book. And then I'm adding in some more lights into the children's bedrooms just because I sort of came across these lights as I was going through, and I suddenly realised that they would actually go really well in the kids' bedrooms. So we're coming to the end of the build now. I was going to be doing a couple of extra things in the garden. So as I said earlier, adding in some extra plants, some plant pots, so your Sims could grow fruit or vegetables or flowers or whatever you'd want them to be growing. But thank you so much for watching. As I said last time, please do give me any feedback in the comments. I'm still learning, so I'd really appreciate any tips or advice you can give me. If there's anything that you'd like to see in the future, then please do let me know. But thank you so much for watching. You're going to see there's some screenshots of the finished build in a second, but I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.